Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It looks gorgeous. Well, here we are today, and we're going to be talking about
watercolors. Oh, this is going to be awesome. It's not like oils, it's not like acrylics. Look at this. There's cakes and there's tubes deciding on which is better.
Right.
There's brushes. But
guys,
where's the professor?
I have no idea.
He's got to be around here somewhere.
Yeah, but look at this work.
You know, if he doesn't show
the
up,
cross, I'm by the cross. Hello.
he's not gonna be here to do the introduction.
Well, why don't we do the introduction?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do the introduction.
Go for it. It's all yours.
Well, being that the professor isn't here right now, and there seems to be no place to find him,
What am I
what
in
he's going to
stealth
talk
mode?
to you about is watercolors. Now, that doesn't mean that you can work with them underwater. No, 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 no. What it simply means, it's a different medium. You're using water and color. It's a whole different, as he would say, animal in that medium.
Look
Or
up.
he'll be telling you a lot
I'm over
more.
here. Hello.
Now, wherever he is, he'll tell you more about it.
Babe, I can't get over this.
Anyway,
This is actually watercolor.
as you can see,
Amazing.
AJ7 is looking at
Look at this.
one of the drawings here. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is just
Oh.
amazing.
Isn't he adorable?
Look at this.
I just love him to death. We love the professor too, but sometimes he
Does
gets
anybody
so
listen to
carried
me?
away
Yeah, he-
doing stuff.
You get carried away, all right?
Oh, well. So, what do you have there?
Well, I have a drawing here that I think he made. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I know.
Can
It's
you
done by
hear
him, all
me?
right.
That looks
Hello.
really good. I hear him,
Yeah, I hear him too.
but I don't see him anywhere.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, well. He's off somewhere
Yeah.
doing something.
Usually.
He's always busy, but you know how he is.
Oh gosh, do we ever?
What do you have?
Well, like I said, I have this drawing that he made.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
What?
Well, tell you what.
I guess they're in control.
Yes?
I guess what we can do is tell you what he's going to go over with you.
Yeah.
He's going to go over the brushes. He's going to go over the differences between cakes
Yep.
and tubes.
That's true.
Which one's better?
Yep.
And I guess he's going to go over how to use it.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Although we're not really that experienced in it.
Nope.
He may have
Good
something to show you that we don't know about. But he knows quite
Just
a bit.
knowing what we see here is fantastic. Hey, let's
And
bounce out
there
of here.
they go.
Great idea.
We're gone.
Let's go.
Yep.
We're out of here.
Well, what they said is exactly what we're going to be working on, and we'll be talking about that in a bit.
Oh, Professor, there
Anyway,
you are.
They,
Hello. Where have you been?
I've
you
been
been-
here all along. I
What?
was trying to tell you I was here.
Sure you are. That's okay. Anyway, we did our introduction for
We'd
you.
love to hang out, but we're headed out.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Oh, yeah. We're heading out. We'll be floating along somewhere. Where are we going, honey?
Now that's a surprise.
Anybody listen to me?
Poor thing. No, I'm sure you're gonna do just fine. We've got them all set up for you, so have fun. And we'll see you when we get back.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, and we want to see that new set you were working on.
We love you.
all
Bye. Take care. We're out of here.
You know, baby, I worry about him.
Anybody listen to me?
See what I mean? Look at him. I think he needs more of a vacation than we do.
For more awesome content, like and subscribe now. Do it now, or I'll hunt you down. Smash like.
Well, this year's off to a great start.
Dabbling in watercolors, Eddie?
Like a watercolor in the rain.
Well, this is it. This is what I've been working on.
Whoa.
Babe, look at this. This is
Hello,
absolutely
fellas,
gorgeous.
ladies,
Well, hello.
ma'am, miss.
How are you doing, Professor?
Well, hello again, my dear
So
professor.
This is it.
Yes, as I was telling everybody here, this is what I was working on.
Wow, so this is what you're
When you
working
did the
on.
introduction,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I was working on.
So this is it. I have to say, you outdid yourself.
Well,
This looks
thank
great.
you.
You're welcome. So what's this for?
Well, I really don't want to say what
Uh-huh.
play this is, but I will tell you this. It was for Brookville High School,
Mm-hmm.
and Megan Emanuel, who's the instructor and the teacher there. She's the thespian director.
Mm.
But I don't want to give the name out because apparently she got in trouble because she was trying to promote this.
Oh, bees.
And the people who
Mm.
put together this or developed this
Right.
have very strict rules on their development. So
Ooh.
here they had a chance to have it advertised, and I'm not going to give the time or day of the name of it.
Oh, good for you.
All I'm going to say is that this play is based on a pair of scissors,
Mm-hmm.
a clock without hands,
Got it.
and a spindle.
Nice.
And it's under the underworld. And that's as far as I'm going.
Are you not saying anything because you don't want to get yourself or them in trouble, or because you don't want them to have any advertisement, or both?
Exactly. So that's what I want to tell you. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because we're going on to watercolor. But as a professional, how do I put this? I get called out to do stuff. And so, as it turns out, as I'm working more and more on this, I have to juggle between YouTube and doing what my customers want or my clients need. And that's also something that keeps me relatively busy and doing other stuff. Right, AJ7?
Whoa, I wasn't implying that you were lazy.
I know.
Nor was I implying that you were irresponsible.
Yeah, I know.
I just know you have a lot of other stuff.
But nevertheless, yes, I am doing other stuff.
Whoa, Professor, is that go-go juice you're drinking?
Well, you call it go-go juice. This is coffee to us, yeah.
Well, I thought you said that while you're working on a project, you shouldn't be drinking any beverages.
Well, yes, you really shouldn't be drinking anything while you're working on a project. But I'm not working on a project right now. We're going to be talking about watercolor.
So hang on, was this done in watercolor?
Well, this was not done in watercolor. This was done in another medium called latex. So it's not going to give you the same effect as you would in watercolor. However, you can kind of mimic that. As you can see in the smoke that I have here, I've done that with what's called an airbrush.
Now, is that used in watercolor as well?
Now, I'll explain what an airbrush is a little later, but that's the kind of stuff that you get to make things look photorealistic or to create a mist and ideas like that. So, yeah, it's done slightly differently than we would have in
Fascinating.
watercolor.
Ooh, intriguing.
Well,
There's just so much.
Why don't we do this? Let's get back to the studio because I don't want to spend too much time on this. Just wanted to give you an example of work that I will be working on. I have to also work with the Forest Dance Academy, and that's going to be another set coming up. And I just finished also another set with Kohai, the City on a Hill Youth Theater. And that took a couple of days to do. So if I don't come out every week with a new video, just understand and bear with me that I'm also working on something. And then I'll present it to you just so you can see what's going on. I'm going to head out and get out to the studio. So I'll see you guys there. Or you can stay here if you want to. There's a lot to see if you want.
Yeah, we're gonna stay. Cakes wants to see the rest of the set.
Very good. AJ7, keep up the good work and take care of AJ3.
Oh, well, thank you.
Love you both.
And you can count on that. I will. She's my everything.
We
And we
love,
love
you
too.
Oh, so much. He means so much to us, doesn't he? My goodness. Hey, let's take a look and see what he has here. Ooh.
Move it, got to move it. Oh, go, go.
Back in the studio. Well, we left AJ7 and AJ3 back. And give them a chance to take a look at the rest of the sets. You're going to get a chance to see more sets as we move on further into the season. And as a matter of fact, there'll be one season dedicated to sets, so you're not missing out on anything. Trust me. We'll be covering quite a bit in these areas of the arts. Areas where people didn't even think that art played a role. And that's also what we're going to cover too, is the myth that there's no money in art. Don't get me started. Okay, so what I'm going to do in the first part is we're going to go over the materials and the tools in watercolor. Now, watercolor, when you think of watercolor, you think of, majority of times, you think of elementary school kids playing with these little trays with cakes of watercolors and having fun. And that's all fine and great, but watercolor is a serious medium too. It's utilized quite a bit in many, many paintings. Take some of the examples here. You can see that some of these examples in illustrating and painting are very serious, and some are pretty realistic. And then of course there's others that are very free and very fluid, almost dreamlike, underwater if you will. So there's a great area of working in watercolors that's able to help you. But watercolor also, as I say it and AJ3 said, it is a different animal. It is. It's deceptive. And what I mean by deceptive is that in oils or acrylics, when you lay the paint down, it tends to keep its color, its brightness, its color fastness, if you will. It tends to keep that. Watercolor, no. You may lay watercolor down, and even with water and using what I mean by using water, because of course you can use water, but a thin layer or using an immense amount of water in only a small amount of pigment, and you're looking at it and saying, wow, that looks really bright. When you come back the next day after it's dried, it has faded almost to nothing. Because see, what that is carrying, the color is actually carrying the pigment. And so the light is refracting through the water and bouncing back, and therefore giving the illusion that it's a lot brighter than what it is. Once that water disappears or evaporates, it's no longer there to refract those colors. And so now the color goes flat. It goes dead. It's very dull. It disappears. So you have to know how much to use. On the other side, if you use too much, it becomes artificial. It becomes almost, well, like you didn't know what you were working with, unless you're working in that style. But to get to that style, you have to understand what you're working with. So this is why I say watercolor can be very, very deceptive. What looks like might be something that you created looks good. You have to go back and build up on that. Working on a watercolor in one sitting usually doesn't happen. Usually doesn't happen. You have to build, and usually it takes several days to build those colors. You may lay the colors out first and turn out, wow, I've got a great foundation, and then you can start building deeper and richer colors as your subject matter that you're working on gets closer and closer, and then you can use those other colors that are in the background muted and faded. Okay, now let's talk about brushes first. Brushes are not like the oil or acrylic brushes. Although you may feel that they're soft, these are extremely soft. These are sable brushes. These brushes are extremely expensive. Extremely. A brush, and I'm holding a 10 here, like this, full natural Siberian Kolonsky brush can cost you, this is a number 10, anywhere between $250 to $300 just for one brush. Yeah, hold your jaw. Why so expensive? Well, it's a natural brush, and it's made from ermine, okay? Or it's made from a natural animal. And that's going to hold your color a lot better than a synthetic brush. Again, you have to set your priorities. For those of you who are going into college, who are playing your video games and spending all that money on videos and playing games and doing all that stuff, and your dream is to work in the video area, first of all, let me tell you, you're going to have a high level of knowledge of mathematics. Because if you want to design, it deals with a lot of math. It's not just drawing. That's the other part. That's the concept. That's the art concept. And so that's something you have to be able to understand. Okay, I'm veering off again, going down a rabbit hole. Here's the thing. Set your priorities. If you're going to be a serious illustrator, serious artist, or you're going to really get into school and you really have started to hone where you want to go, you're going to need to be able to buy products and work your tools that's going to cost you what it would cost you to buy another game, what's going to cost you to upgrade your computer, that gaming chair you bought. Seriously, you have to start setting priorities now. Yeah, you can try and get by with the cakes, but trust me, we can see the difference in the work. And again, in some cases, if you get into a very serious art college where they're really going to be pushing you, those professors are going to tell right off the bat what you used and how you used it. It's just not going to have the same quality of work as you would be using by using your higher grade paints and brushes. Using one of these brushes, which is your acrylic or oil brushes, it's not designed to hold water. It's designed to hold a solid material, solid medium such as acrylic or oils. It's thick, it's dense, these brushes are meant to hold on to it and then let it go. It hangs on to, or water won't hang on to this. The brush is not going to hang on to that color very well, and on top of that, it's not going to be a smooth brush on top of your paper. And remember, you're not using canvas anymore, you're using watercolor paper. So these brushes here are pretty much out. You're not going to be using these. And we'll put these aside. So as you can see, I have 4 brushes. Rather expensive, but these are all the only brushes I'm going to really need for my watercolors that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be showing you on the next, after we take our break, on how to use these and what kind of paper to use. Okay, so the next thing is paper, your canvas, your picture plane, what you're going to be using. Well, the best type of paper that I find that's out there is called Arches paper. Now, Arches paper has been around for years, for hundreds of years, and it's been refined, it's been tested through time, and it's probably one of the best papers to use. It comes in 2 different types. It comes into cold press and hot press. Now, if we go back, I want you to go back when we were way back talking about illustration board and we're talking about drawing. I told you that I like using the cold press illustration board. Now, let's review over that, what I said there between cold press and hot press. When it comes out of the mill, the illustration board comes right out hot, and they let it dry hot. When it's cold press, it comes out, and there's this mist of water that comes down on the paper, and it creates these little surface pop marks, and it creates a grit, if you will, on that paper. And it's a lot easier, or I should say it's a lot more acceptable to color pencils, even markers. So it dries your markers out quite a bit. I don't really particularly care for the hot press illustration board. Now, the reverse is true on watercolor paper. I prefer to go with the hot press because I like the smoother surface. Then it goes to the cold press. This here, and I know you can't see it, is the cold press, and you can see that it's there's no way you can see this on here, but it's got a tooth to it. It's great to work with, but it also creates textures, and you know, if you lightly go over it with your brush, it skips over some areas, and if you want that look, it creates a really dynamic look for texture and what you're working with. Watercolor paper comes in 2 areas. It comes in what they call a block. Now, if you were to go in and somebody said, yeah, I'd like a block of watercolor paper, this is a block of watercolor paper. And you can see this is an Arches watercolor block, and it's got a seal all the way around it, and it's already set, ready to go. So what's the advantage of having a block? Well, in watercolor paper, you want to soak your paper in water, and then you want to lay it down. It tightens the paper up. This is already taken care of for you. In other words, I can go straight from wet to dry surface if I want. I can go wet to wet. In other words, wet brush to wet surface if I want. I mean, it's putting water on the paper and then working directly on that. And I don't have to worry about it crinkling or rippling. Now, the reason watercolor paper or cardboard or any kind of paper tends to bend is simple physics. What happens is that the molecules on one side start to tighten up when you hit water on the side that you're using your watercolor paper or using paper. It tends to ripple. Now, this ripples because it doesn't have a fine base to be able to pull. Cardboard will bend because it's got the corrugation, it's a lot stiffer, so it just bends upward because one side is tightening versus the other. In order to flatten that, you have to flip that over and then wet the other side, and then it'll go back to its normal, back to its original position. But to save yourself from that, you can take the block. Now, here's the drawback. A block like this will cost you about 150 bucks. I told you, this stuff is not cheap, okay? You can get bigger blocks, but they're going to be a lot more expensive. The other option is to go with a free sheet. Arches comes in sheets like this. Hello! And it comes in your a plastic sheet when you go to a professional art store, and they will also give you this here. I have 2 sheets here. Now, this here is cold press, or excuse me, hot press. This came straight out without any kind of spray on top of the paper, so it's really smooth, and it gives you that smooth surface feel, which is really, really great for me anyway. I like both, one or the other, you know, depending on what I'm using it for. The Arches hot press is great for calligraphy because you don't have to worry about it bouncing around or sliding on top of the paper. This is great for using illustrations or paintings that you're going to be working with, and I'll be utilizing this for my work when I demonstrate some of the stuff for you, so you can see this now, or you can see how this works. Okay, the question here is, how do you go about utilizing this? Well, you can cut your paper down to the size that you want, but now here's the other thing. You're going to have to find yourself a board. And any kind of flat board, wood board that you could use to be able to tape your paper down, which is using this here. This is a gummed taped paper. Whoa! Almost fell off my seat. Right here. See? And it's already got a gum stick on the other side. So you're going to wet that side, lay your paper onto your, after you've either soaked it, you've gotten it into the water, lay it on the board, and then tape it down so it can tighten itself up and it won't wrinkle on you. But you have to go all the way around. That's the cheaper way, but it's a little more work on your part to be working on that. Now, when you take that paper off, which I will demonstrate in techniques, you're going to have to cut around that and then cut that paper, cut that tape off. Because that tape's not going to just peel off your paper. It's adhered to that. So you want to cut the areas where that's going to be, or where you're going to utilize that. The area that you taped, or the area that you painted versus the, I can't talk, versus the place that you taped down. That's permanent. So you have to take an X-Acto knife and cut that out. And then and then your image will come out from that. Okay, what am I saying? I'm sitting here because I have so much information to give you. Okay, and we're going to go into utilizing how to utilize those 2 areas in painting techniques. When we get to watercolors, I'll do a demonstration with the Arches paper, the hot press, and with the cold press block, and show you how to use those 2. But right now, we're just showing you how to work with watercolor and how they work together. Now, they come in 2 types. Watercolors comes in cakes, and they come in tubes. Now, immediately I'm going to tell you the best thing you're going to have to get is a tube. these are the tubes. Now, what brands do you want to follow with? Well, again, look at the brands and where they're made. Grumbacher makes a great watercolor. Cotman makes also a great watercolor. I utilize these, but one of the best ones that I use is called Da Vinci. Da Vinci is made in California, and they started off about 100 years ago in Italy. They started off using making oil paints. From there, they went into acrylics. The father, who owns the company, then moved to the United States, specifically California, specifically more Orange County. And he started building on that and finding that there wasn't a watercolor good paint that he could find. So he developed Da Vinci's watercolor. This watercolor is really phenomenal. I enjoy it. I really love it quite a bit. It's really got a great texture to it. So if you want to look for that, it's going to be Da Vinci. Da Vinci also has, I'll be right back.
Looking for the color key. Which is the color key? That one? No. That's the latex color key. No, I can't find this one. No, that's a acrylic color key. We're looking for the Da Vinci color key. The color key's where? No, I remember where it is. Over here. No, it's over here. Ah, here it is. Yep. No, it's over here. Got it. All right. Again. I'm okay. I'm all right.
And we're back. Da Vinci will also supply you, if you go by mail order and ask for this, is a color swatch of their colors and samples of that. On the top, it'll give you the name. It will also give you the serial number, the fastness of that, and whether it's semi-opaque, opaque on that, and you can pick that up. So I'll show that to you here. So again, that's a color swatch from Da Vinci. I believe others have those too, but I was saying I know Da Vinci is really good, so I enjoy using this. Okay, and then lastly, what you're going to need is a palette. This palette here will run you about 25 bucks. Oh, how much are your paints? Let's back up a little bit. Your paints are going to run you, these here will run you about $6. This will run you about $6, $7, 12 bucks as well, all depending on the series and the color fastness of that. So the colors are a little more or less expensive, a little less expensive than you would be with oils or acrylics. Okay, they come in the smaller tubes. You can purchase the smaller tubes if you like. Now, here's the other reason why the tubes are better than the cakes. Let me jump back to this here so then I can turn around and go. I can utilize or talk to you about colors here. All right. So you're going to have, this is, will run you about 25 bucks. It's made of plastic and it's great. You can lay your colors in these little, I call them little cubicles here, and utilize that. You can also mix your paints on top of here, and it interlocks like this. On the bottom of this one, or you can find bump-ons. You can go to just about any framing shop, and there are little bump-ons that go on the bottom. They're little rubber bump-ons. I'll show you here. Right there. They usually go on the bottom of a frame, which we'll get into framing later. And they grip the table so that it doesn't slide off if you have a slick surface and a slick top here where you're constantly driving back and forth. It grips onto that so it stays stuck in one area. What's good about the tubes is I can take my blue, squeeze some into the little compartment, take some of my red, squeeze that in that compartment, and mix that and create a purple. I can't do that with a cake. I have to take the water, wet the blue, then I have to go over and go to the blue, or to the go over to the red, mix that up, and then make your purple. That's not going to work. Okay, so tubes are way better than cakes. Don't buy the cakes. If you walk into an art class in college with cakes,
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, please.
yeah, especially in an advanced art class. Oh boy. Do not buy the cakes. Okay, if you want to buy them for yourself at home and you want to, or you're trying to find a cheap way of doing it, trust me, they're going to see how cheap you really are. Your professors are going to mock you for this, so don't do it. Okay, you're going to want to get the tubes. That's what you're going to want to go with. What's good about this is that once you're done for that time, you can turn around and close it up. It keeps the moisture out. I usually put like a little bit of water, just a tab of water to keep the moisture in there so it stays humid. When they dry out, you can still utilize them. And that's why I say you can mix that paint first, and then all you have to do is pull that out and then use it on your paints once again. Okay, we've covered the colors, or we covered the tubes and paints, brushes, tape, loose sheets versus a block of watercolor paper. Okay, what we're going to do now, you kind of got an idea of what we have here. Oh, and lastly, notice that I'm on a table. You're not going to be on an easel doing watercolor because you're going to be moving your paper back and forth just like this. You'll see what I do that when I do the demonstration. Okay, we're going to take this little break here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to show you how these watercolors work. And you can kind of play around with them. All right? Now the fun begins. Let's look at these colors here. We're back. Okay, well, what I have here now is I have pretty much my colors set up. Okay, so what I did during the break is I took my 3 Da Vinci colors, the yellow, which is the cadmium yellow medium, alizarin crimson red, and the cobalt blue. All 3 primary colors. Then what I did, as I said, you can't really do this with cakes, but you can do it with tubes. As you can see there, I've mixed them into the primary colors as well. Ha ha! You can see there? Very good. Yeah. Okay. So now, theoretically, I can get every color on the palette, on the spectrum. And I don't have black there because I can mix my black. If I wanted to, I could take all 3, put them in one container, and then mix that would be my black, which I could do right now. So let me just do this here. So I'm going to take my blue, and I'm going to add equal amounts of this. Now, keep in mind that when you're mixing these here, it's not the black like you would think of as black out of a tube. Remember what I said, if you go back to my videos when we talked about color theory, that there is no such thing as black. So when the color that you've mixed for black thins out, it tends to be more of a brown. So this is another challenge to watercolor. Here's the other challenge. You'll notice there's no white on here. Well, my white's already here. There it is. It's on the paper. You actually use the paper as white. A true watercolorist, here I am going back with the blue, a true colorist will use the white for the background, which makes it even more complicated because you now have to leave those areas white for highlights. That's why it gets to be pretty tricky. Yes, there is a white watercolor, but you don't want to use that. You want to be able to mix yours. Okay, mix your use the paper for your white. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my palette knife And I'll put this right up here so that you can see what I'm working with here. I've got all three colors right there, and I'm going to mix all these, and this is going to be my black. So let's mix all these together, and if I've mixed them equally, they will turn into a black. Now, as you can see, it's a neutral, it's almost a brown. You can see that there. And I will pull this up with my palette knife and show you what the black, oops, I dipped into the other cubby. There we go. And you can see it's more of a brown. Once again, brown is neutral, so you're going to get that. Now, in order to fix that, I just have to add more blue to that and then push that color around so that I can get my neutral color off of that. Okay, so technically I'm all set and ready to go. Okay, how do we start off with? Well, here's the way you usually start off with the standard way of working in watercolor. Again, we're not working on technique, so I'm just going to show you how to utilize these watercolors and how you can make them more of a wash or almost like a dream-like scape versus something solid. And you can utilize these too. When you're using watercolor, you're going to want to wet your paper. Now, here is the other part that gets to be a little tricky. I'm going to take this, and everywhere I wet my paper, my color will start to stream down or start to blend like with the sky. So if I take my water and I just wipe this out here and let that soak, all of that is going to be covered in water. Now I can expedite that and literally pour my water onto the paper. But you got to be controlled because you don't want it running all over the place. Okay, there we go. Now everywhere the water has contact with the paper, the paint will bleed out. Any places where I don't have water, it will stop. Okay, so I got my paper, and here I did majority of it, almost the entire part. I probably have maybe about 1/8 of it not wet. But now the paper is soaked. Now I'm going to take my blue. I'm mixing right here, as you can see on my palette. And I'm going to brush it right across here. Now, remember what I said earlier, what looks like it's darker really isn't. It will eventually fade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my water here. Now, what I can do is a lot of my water will build up here at the bottom. I can tap that out. I don't want to have my water or my paint contaminating that, but you can see now what happens here. I'm going to tip this over in the direction so you can see. Look how that is just streaming down. And it just washes down. This is the magic of watercolor. Now, we're using a raw color here. Okay, now if I want to go into neutralizing that a bit, let's say I want to add a little bit of orange to that so that I can use a complement to that. To neutralize my sky, I'm going to come in and dip in a little bit of orange. I'm going to pull this out. And add a streak of orange to this. Now I'm going to blend this in and neutralize my sky. Now this is where it gets to be pretty tricky, because now it's not a solid blue anymore. But now you can see how it's been neutralized. and I can pull that down to here and blend out my sky. You can see how I'm working on that. Okay. Again, we're just working on how to utilize watercolor. There's no technique to this that we're using at right now. I'm just showing you how to manipulate and work with the media of watercolor. Watercolor is it's hard to control. It's not going to be like your acrylic and oil. It has a tendency to just blend out and blur out. If you're going to make another image on this, and let's say you're going to make a tighter image, let's just start off with something as a sphere. You're going to want to wait for that background to dry. Could you use a hair dryer? You could. Speed up the drying process. Or let's say you're trying to create that dreamlike look. Okay, so let's just say, for the heck of it, for kicks and giggles, I'm going to add a green ball. But you're going to see how this ball, and that green is actually a mixture of the yellow and the blue, which I've used from my tubes. I've only utilized the two primary colors. And again, I'm going to emphasize, whenever you pick up colors, you always want to start off with your three primary colors. You don't start with the three primary colors, you've pretty much shot yourself in the foot, because you can't build anything from that. You buy a red and you buy a blue and you're lacking yellow, you're not going to be able to mix any other colors. You can't get your full secondary spectrum. If you only buy the yellow and the blue, then you're out of the red. You're not going to have, you need to always start off. And I tell that with every single student. Start with your three primary colors. In watercolor, you're not going to have white, but you're going to end up mixing your own black, which is going to turn out to look like this brown here. And then you just add more blue to push that over into the blacks. Now, if you want in watercolor, you can go to the blacks and you can use those blacks, but I highly recommend that you only use just a little to just punch that up. Don't anchor yourself to it to the point that you're actually using your blacks as a full-on palette color. Which, remember, it's not. It's a shape. Black is not a color. All right, so I'm going to add this spherical shape here. Now, already you can see how the sphere is starting to fade. You see that? Okay? Because there's no control over that with the water, the wet paper. It's bleeding out. Now, you may want that, and you may want to have that. It creates this really awesome looking blend. Look at that. That is really great. It creates an awesome looking color to that. Now, here's the thing. If I want to have a highlight, I've already killed that because I've knocked out all the white. So the white on the paper isn't there anymore for me to do a highlight on that circle. See where I'm going with that? And this is where it starts to get a little tricky. Now, if I want, I can add a darker green to half of that spherical shape. And what is the complement to green?
Yes, it is I.
Red. Right. So I'm now going to pull some red right over here. Pull that up and add that here to the bottom. And that's going to give me even a darker color. Now, you can see now I've pulled that out and I can blend that out. I can come back with more green and control that. Let up. Pull this out. Look at that, huh? Pull it all the way around, just like this. Now, I can also add different techniques to this. I can turn around and blot this out if I want. Lighten that up. Come back again. Pull more of the green out so I can neutralize more of that because it's a little red. And pull this up. Add some more of my water to this. Fade this out. And I'm just having fun with this. And you can still see, look at this. Look how that is starting to fade out. Isn't that something to see how there's no sharp edges on this here? And that's okay. You don't have to have those sharp edges. We will work on those if you want. And I can pull this out even further, creating a blend out. And if I want, I just loosen myself up and let this spherical shape have more of a blend. It shows more action. Now I'm just like going, you know what? I'm just going for it. Look at this. Now I'm adding more of an opaque watercolor to my subject. Okay, now I'm going to come in with my neutrals. I'm going to take this brown here and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some of this purple and I'm going to come in and add some of this blue and pull this out. Oh yeah, look at that. That blue now is really starting to pull that black out. Okay. And I'm going to create the shadow underneath this. And that. All right, I'm going to add some of the water to this and just blend this out. If I really want to get underneath here, look at this. I'm going to come right and just start pulling some of these super darks right underneath here. Pull this up and around. Come back to my green. Pull some of the greens up here. And just let those colors fly. Look at that. Now, I mean, is this something that you're going to want to frame and place up on a wall? Of course not, but this is going to be something that you're working with. You're getting yourself involved with the color. You're letting yourself be free a little more with this, with the watercolor, because that's exactly what you want to do. You want to be free with it. You want to just let yourself just go with the flow, if you will. Now, in the block, you can see already, if I hold this up, I can't get it to get some light on there, but you can see the paper is trying to warp, but it can't because it's being pulled on all directions as the block. This here is keeping everything tight. You can't do that unless, with a sheet of paper, unless you tape that down. Because if you don't, it's going to wrinkle, and you're going to have one heck of a mess trying to work with watercolor as it's rippling. And for you young artists, you probably have had trouble with that and saying, why is my paper? It's going to do that. When you add water to an acid-free paper, it's going to wrinkle. Now, what's the difference between acid-free paper and acid paper? Let's go back to what we were talking about at the very beginning. Acid paper is made from wood pulp. This is made from cotton. That's right. The same stuff that my shirt is made out of. So it's designed to get wet. It's also the same way that your money is used or made. The money in your pocket, if you put it to the washer, it's not going to get destroyed because it's made from cotton. And that's exactly what this is too. So you're able to work it and design it and build on it. Now, if I wanted to, I can let this dry and then I can build on this even more. Make the edges look sharper, design it, lay it out, come up with other designs on this and build other things with it. but I'm showing you what the basics of using these colors. Now, as you can see already, the colors are starting to neutralize, they're starting to get flatten out. And that's because the water is now starting to begin its evaporation stage, which means, as I said, water refracts the color. When the water is gone, it has nothing to refract, so therefore it becomes flat. Watercolor, like I said, is extremely challenging. Don't expect to get it right off the bat. Give yourself some time. Play with it. Develop different styles. Go on Pinterest. Go on Google. And Google different styles of watercolor. Seriously, you need to be inspired. Don't be discouraged. Don't compare yourself to what others are doing. Be inspired by them, but don't sit here and go, oh, I'm never going to be able to paint like that. You may not, because that may not be your style. Let yourself go and just let yourself play with this. Now, here's the thing. We went over oils, we went over acrylics, and we went over now watercolors. The whole thing and the whole idea of this behind this is to be able to go out, purchase these mediums, and come out and practice with them. Get yourself almost like a warm-up. Get yourself familiar with these. Because once you do, and once you get yourself familiar with them, when we start getting into painting techniques, then you're going to be able to develop your own style. Now, here's the thing. Bob Ross has become very, very popular. And he's very popular because he does fast paintings, and therefore a lot of people are able to copy his technique, mimic his technique, as you might say, and develop that. That's not what we're going to show you here. I'm going to show you different techniques, but I want you as the artist to develop yourself. In order to do that, you have to find other references. Who are you painting like? Who are you resembling? What inspires you? And that's exactly what you want to do. This episode that we're showing you is we're introducing you to what these mediums are. Okay? All right. Well, listen, that's going to conclude our section here on watercolor and how we're using it. So as always, may the Lord be with you, and practice working with these watercolors. You just have to buy the 3 tubes. Your 3 basic tubes. Don't even buy black. As a matter of fact, I'm going to strongly recommend you don't buy black. Force yourself to recognize and just develop your own black. And so you're going to use the 3 primary colors, blue, red, and you're going to use your yellows. You want to find a deep red, crimson, a deep blue, usually a phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, or even a cobalt blue, and then your cadmium, cadmium yellow medium. And that's going to allow you to be able to push and pull those colors, and they're going to be a lot more vibrant to work with on those, okay? You're going to be able to develop and start working on them. And remember, mixing your colors to create your secondary colors and then build from that. Now, if you want, and you want to be able to buy your smaller tubes, such as these here, go for it. Buy yourself some of the smaller tubes so you can use those and utilize some of them. I'm not trying to discourage you from that, but I'm just trying to tell you, start off with your first bits of paints using the 3 primary colors. Again, your watercolor brushes, your natural brushes are going to be extremely expensive. You may have to find yourself that you're going to have to go through the synthetic brushes, and that's understandable. I don't think you're going to want to pay $200 for a size 10 brush, and you're going to find, trying to find a Kolonsky brush, you're not going to, and these are all natural, they're not going to be out of the pocket easy money to get. You're going to have to take your time, save up your money for those. And there's some pretty decent synthetic brushes that you could use, and keep your eyes on those. Okay, well, on the next episode, we're going to be going into, I believe, color pencils. Now, usually I say we're going to start off with next week. As you can tell, I have not been on schedule because I am working on sets right now, and so I'm having to juggle between doing sets, developing this, and keeping everything all together. It's a pretty hard thing to juggle, so If I don't pop in after a while, you'll know why, because I'm working on the sets. On the next episode, I'll start off and show you the last set we did for Kohite, which was See You in St. Louis, and show you the simple set that I did. But no set is really simple. And then, of course, the big monster that we're working on right now is Forest Dance Academy, and you'll see how big that one is. You saw some of those that I did, especially for Lion King. Those are the big ones that we work with. And, of course, our biggest one is in the winter for the Thomas Road Christmas Spectacular. Okay, so hopefully we will maybe see you next week. If not, just keep an eye out. And remember, like, share, subscribe. If you hit that bell, it'll let you know that I have a new episode coming out. So that'll alert you. Especially right now, like I said, when I'm trying to get everything together. Enough talking. I could go on forever. All right. Take care, and we will see you on the next episode of Artifacts.
Pantarabamba!